But you look at that migration, and I'm looking at it, and I'm the first one to bring it up. 3 weeks ago, I'm saying, isn't that a shame? And then I said to myself, wow, they're all men. There are no men. You look at it, there are so few women, and there are so few children. And not only are they men, they're young men, and they're strong as can be. They're tough-looking cookies.
In politics, life is all about taking advantage of the situation around you, even if that advantage may be anathema to some people. For Donald Trump, the Paris attacks, President Obama's appearance of sleepwalking through national security, and the fact there's no complete vetting process for those coming to America from terrorist nations have combined in a perfect storm, driving his poll numbers even higher. Is it possible these measures proposed by Trump will make him a can't-beat GOP presidential choice? Welcome back to veteran political commentator, best-selling author, co-author of Power Grab, Obama's Dangerous Plan for a One-Party Nation. Always a pleasure to welcome Dick Morris back to the show. All right, Dick, you heard the comments from Donald Trump, and even today he said he wouldn't rule out warrantless searches in plans for increased surveillance of nation's Muslims. He's talking about also an ID tag and an ID card for many of the Muslims. In your opinion, is Donald Trump doing what he needs to do, and is it a good plan for him to continue pushing forward?
Yeah, I think that this is his moment. You know, sometimes a candidate has to fit the moment. Well, this is a time when the moment has come up to fit the candidate. He was locked in a tie with Ben Carson. And now that this issue has surfaced, everybody's concluding that Carson's too weak and Trump is just the kind of strength that we need. Trump understands that this issue of vetting these Syrian refugees is ridiculous. You can't pick up the phone and call their high school guidance counselor or ask for their criminal rep sheet. This is an anarchic situation in which we have no even diplomatic representation. So how can you conceivably vet folks? The answer is to keep them out of the country. And it's not a religious test, it's a geographic test. And we have plenty of instances where we declare a nation a terrorist sponsor and we don't permit them to do certain things. And that should include sending us refugees.
So let's then look at the other gentleman who is right there atop the polls, but seems to be dropping a little, and that is Dr. Ben Carson. Today, he compared Syrian refugees to rabid dogs. And there have been other things that he has said as well that have upset some people on both sides. Again, in your opinion, is he doing enough to rescue his campaign and to continue to stay at the top?
No, I think that it's a very difficult mission for him. Because after all, remember that he said in the first debate that he would not have sent troops to Afghanistan after 9/11. He said his strategy would have been to focus on energy independence and not taking foreign oil, which I thought was a ludicrous answer. In these 6 polls taken before the debate and before the Paris attacks, Trump and Carson were tied at 24 each. Now, Trump has a lead of 25-20 in the 2 polls since then. And I think that gap is going to expand. I think that this may drive Carson out of the top tier of candidates.
All right, let's look at another candidate, Republican candidate Jeb Bush. Only yesterday, he called for the United States to send more troops to the Middle East to fight the Islamic State. Let's hear what he had to say.
Militarily, we need to intensify our efforts in the air and on the ground. While air power is essential, it cannot bring the results we seek. The United States, in conjunction with our NATO allies and more Arab partners, will need to increase our presence on the ground.
Dick, in the Huffington Post today, the title of the article, "Here's How and Why Jeb Bush Will Win the GOP Nomination." Do you agree with that? And is he doing anything here to salvage his career?
I don't agree with that, but I do think this is the right position. I do think that we need large numbers of ground troops, and I think most of the Republican candidates now are embracing that point of view, although Hillary and Obama are not. The Democrats are about to fall over a cliff on this one because they are so at variance with the attitudes of the American people. As far as Bush is concerned, I think that, you know, when the issue becomes a dominant issue, Iraq works against him. Whether it was Bush 41, who didn't remove Saddam, whether it was Bush 43, who chose not to keep a presence in Iraq to stop ISIS from coming up, this isn't his issue.
I want to remind everybody once again that the book that they need to read, once again, is the book that you co-authored, Power Grab, Obama's Dangerous Plan for a One-Party Nation. It's an important read as we once again get close to Iowa, get close to November as well. Dick Morris, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show, my friend. Thanks so much for being here. Now, we mentioned Jeb Bush just now. You're going to hear a lot more from him because, as a matter of fact, coming up on Prime with J.D. Hayworth, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Pacific Time, the man that the Huffington Post says is still in it. An exclusive interview with Jeb Bush, and it's only right here on Newsmax. Make sure you tune in to hear this because Jeb Bush is trying to do everything he can to salvage his career as a presidential candidate. Has he done enough? You're going to find out. Coming up next, Rand Paul cites animal waste material in discussing the idea to increase national surveillance. He's somebody else who, quite frankly, sometimes doesn't care whether you think what he says is right or wrong. He's going to say it. Next on The Political Animal on the Hardline.